There you have it, straight from a document that's headed ECB Confidential. We now move on to the ECR and Roberts Zīle.
Thank you, President. Mr. President, it's obviously since the micro. It's obviously since the Eurozone Rescue Toolbox became much more powerful since you also made very significant decisions. And it's more important, it has been acknowledged that the link between the sovereigns and the banks needs to be severed. Last year also it's agreed that the single supervisory mechanism, the first leg of the so-called banking union, starts functioning. The ESM could begin recapitalization of the Eurozone and only Eurozone banks directly. Of course, it can distort the functioning of the single market between non-Eurozone opt-in countries and Eurozone countries, not only in the financial sector, but in general, in economies of those two markets in that sense. You already described very much, I think, and thank you for your position on single resolution mechanism. But whatever, I think there could be some delays of this mechanism implemented. That means in between we have access for Eurozone commercial banks recapitalization to ESM according to certain conditions. But for non-Eurozone countries, there is no access for recapitalization in the cases if it's needed very urgently. Can you describe, please, the situation? How do you see how we can create, not disturb a single market in financial sector in a general competitiveness of two group of countries in Europe, European Union? Thank you.
Thank you. No, I don't think that the SSM actually disturbs the single market functioning. As a matter of fact, the ECB views the working of the SSM as part and a complement, really, to EBA, to the EBA activity. So, if anything, the SSM will help EBA to enforce a single rule book and to enforce best practices uniformly across the euro area countries. And then EBA will do its part and its share as well. So, that's as far as the SSM. For the ESM and the potential direct recapitalization by the ESM of the banks, but one thing to keep in mind is that also non-euro area countries can join the ESM if they want, in which case their banks could become potentially eligible for the ESM working about direct recapitalization when it will become operational. Thank you.
Did you want to come back? You can come back.
Just very shortly, just to precisely to understand, because the last summer decision of Eurozone summit was that only Eurozone banks can be directly recapitalized from ESM. What you mentioned right now, it seems that you said that if it's Eurozone countries joint banking, joint single supervisory mechanisms, they will be able to recapitalize non-Eurozone commercial banks directly from ESM. Am I correct to understand your position?
My understanding is that non-Euro area countries that could join the ESM and the SSM, at that point their banks will be subject to the single supervisory mechanism and therefore could become potentially eligible for direct recapitalization if the conditions are there as stated and decided by the ESM. So there is no intention to break, I think I'm responding now to the first point, there is no intention to fragment the single market. Actually, it should be a contribution to the working of the single market.
You're satisfied with that?
No, I'm satisfied. Maybe my legal knowledge is not enough, but as far as we discussed the Danuta Skubner's report also recently in Econ Committee, there is obviously legal obstacles for non-Eurozone countries to join ESM. That's my...
At this point, I resign to the experts' discussions about this. That was my conviction, but... I stand to be corrected on that. So.
Okay, as you know, there's a lot of work going on as to how to square that